Morning. So I saw a meme recently. I love how well I explain memes. This always goes so well. But basically it was something to the effect of, if it takes more than 3 words to explain what you do, you don't do a real job. And so, there's just different, talking heads. I do this, and that. I just this and that. And the last one is like, a bearded fisherman. He says, I catch fish. Which, clever, sure. And I'm not dumping on people who have like highly specialized things that they do, which, the more complex a society you have, the more niche specialization is required for kind of a functional economy, right? Especially as technology increases, and just an average human's bandwidth is so limited. You get out of your depth really fast, and so you get this like hyper specialization in a lot of areas, which is, it's fine, but I still get what they're trying to say, and I don't think the creator of the meme is trying to dump on people who are highly specialized. And I'm by no means a Luddite. Like I don't think that we need to go back to some kind of simplistic agrarian form of living. But there's something there. Like I don't know if you've seen the there's this channel. I'm gonna forget the exact name. I'll try and link it in the description. But it's Primitive Technology, right? And it's a guy, I think he's in Australia or somewhere in that part of the world. But he doesn't talk in any of his videos. He's been around for years, and he actually posted something recently again, and it had been a long time. And there's all these kind of knockoff channels who do similar-ish things, but they don't quite capture the same essence of what this guy's doing. And he goes out and he's barefoot and in shorts, and he just builds stuff in situ. So huts and clay pottery, and tools out of like knapping stone into like flint tools and that sort of thing. And he's gotten as far as making charcoal and blow furnaces, and starting to refine ores. It's just fascinating to watch him do this stuff. And again, there's no background music. It's quiet. He's just got a GoPro set up, and if you turn the closed captions on, there's a little description about what he's doing along the process. But it's just wildly popular for a long time, and like I said, it spawned a whole bunch of knockoff channels that do similar stuff. And I think it's just a fascinating phenomena in the context of I catch fish, right? That there's something in us, and like growing up, I had this sensation that people I was growing up around didn't want to be 3-letter acronyms of businesses, or the highly niche specialized thing, or some highly necessarily intellectualized labor, but really like at base wanted to be like doers and makers of things, right? And there was just something like real and tangible about your labor, right? And certainly there's a segment of the population that eschews labor, and just thinks that we should all have our basic needs met, whether or not we're willing to work. But setting that aside for the moment, go watch the videos. I'll try and remember to link the channel, if you haven't seen it already. And it's just there's something deep inside of us, I think, that like on a visceral level, like we have a need to do and to make, right? And not necessarily like be out and do bushcraft, barefoot in the woods, with the bugs and the heat and, the rain and whatever else. God knows my darling wife would, be miserable in that situation. There's plenty of people who that's not their thing. But still, like, even her, or, city girls who, tend to be, kind of more averse to, camping and nature and things like that. I think there's still something there, and like there's all kinds of, hobby groups about, people doing, crochet or needlework or backyard blacksmithing or, just all kinds of stuff like that. And one wonders if maybe we wouldn't all be happier living in, maybe a more like maybe steam age society, where like the things you do actually have a tangible output, and again, there's nothing wrong with intellectual labor, and I'm not trying to dump on it. And I mean, yeah, to be sure, I also, find, science fiction and thoughts about, far-flung future technologies fascinating as well. And so, like I said, I don't think we necessarily need to become, Luddites and or Amish and just kind of rid ourselves of the trappings of modernity. But I wonder if maybe there's something that we couldn't recapture there. It's like in Star Trek, here we go again, Captain Picard's family owns a vineyard, right, in France. Now, like, hundreds of years into the future where you can snap your fingers and create anything, including wine, if you want to, and kind of reproduce whatever, age and flavor and aesthetic you want, without all the work of actually cultivating grapes, and, fermenting grape juice into wine. But, I mean, at least the authors of the story believe that there would still be folks who felt that need to, kind of do these sort of, I guess you could say, artisanal, handmade products. As much as people not kind of the hipster, artisanal, Portland, whatever scene, be it bread, bakeries, coffees, alcohols, whatever, like there's actually, it makes sense to me, right? That, again, those folks, whatever their passion is, I mean, like, just look into, like, coffee, for example. We bought an espresso machine not too long ago, and, I mean, you can get really, like, into the weeds on coffee, and I mean, like, coworker is a roaster, and, like, makes, buys his own beans from the growers, and roasts them, and creates his own blends, and, like, I mean, he's successful in his primary career, but that's not where his passion is, right? And if I took one of my hobbies and tried to make it into full-time work, I think I'd go nuts. I don't think I would get the same enjoyment out of the hobby that I would if I were doing it as full-time work. But I mean, I already find the work I do satisfying, and I think a lot of people don't. I mean, I know I've said this before, but, maybe what I do isn't as simple as I catch fish, but, like, I enforce laws. I catch bad guys, like, it's not all that complex, ultimately. I mean, the procedural and legal elements of it are complex, and the physical skills are complex, and the work is, complex, but the concept is, I mean, pretty basic, right? And maybe you can play that game with a lot of otherwise, highly intellectualized forms of work. But, I mean, I think there are a lot of people that don't derive a whole lot of satisfaction about what they do and maybe would be happier doing something more hands-on. I don't know. What do you think? What would you do if you didn't have to do what you do for work? What would you do with your time? Where would you be going? Like, I mean, would you just go nuts and start to hate your hobbies, or would you find yourself going back to work doing something else? Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share it around. Love to get more people involved in the conversation. Inspiring and uplifting as always. It's been fun. See you on the next one.